Okay, so choosing the right sofa for your space is kind of like Goldilocks. Like, you don't want it to be too big, you don't want it to be too small, you want it to be just right for your space. And I get it. Sofas are one of the biggest purchases that you're gonna make as far as furniture goes for your house, and they're one of the most used for sure. They anchor your room, they cost a chunk of change, and if you get it wrong, you're gonna be like side-eyeing your sofa for the next decade. So do not worry, today I'm gonna break it all down for you. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through everything that you need to know to choose a sofa like a designer, but without stressing out about it. We're gonna cover all the dimensions, the styles that work in different room layouts, what to look for in frame construction and cushion and fill and fabric and all the little like designy things that most people don't think about, like arm heights and details and how to, pair a cocktail table with your sofa. So I want to get started with how to think about the size and scale of your sofa for your space. So first, let's talk about standard sofa sizes. So usually a standard sofa like the one that I'm sitting on here is generally between like 84 to 90 inches long, okay, or wide. And then deep, 36, 40-ish, something like that. Usually the back height, if it's a standard height, somewhere like maybe 34 inches-ish. Now, that's just a normal sofa. There are thousands of different options when it comes to sofas. And my rule of thumb is that you need to think about how your sofa style pairs with your overall aesthetic for your home. So and the space of your home. If you like a modern look, then you're gonna probably want a sofa that has a lower back and a lower seat and is really streamlined. If you like a more classic look, you're probably gonna want a little bit more formality in your sofa. You're gonna want a rolled arm, you're gonna want a back, maybe even some like tufted details. The thing that I would always keep in mind, regardless of the style of the sofa, is that the scale of your sofa needs to align with the size of the room that you're putting it in, okay? So if you have a really oversized sectional in a kind of small room, it just feels like it's completely overwhelming the space. So pick the right sofa for your layout, the other chairs or, other seating groupings that you have in the room and how your sofa pairs with those. I always like to tell clients to think about how they want to sit and have conversation in their spaces. And if it's a space that they're going to be watching TV in, how they're going to sit for that as well. Like, are they all going to be piled up on a sofa? If you've got like 5 people in your family, you might want to do a sectional, just those are things to keep top of mind. So we've got our standard size sofa. Then there's like a whole range of other sofas. You've got settees, which are kind of like a little mini sofa. Generally, they're like 50, 70 inches wide, and they're really great for maybe bedrooms, like at the end of a bed, something like that, or even small spaces. Oversized sofas generally are like 90 plus inches. And they're great for large spaces, family rooms, stuff like that, if you're not using a sectional. Obviously, there's curved sofas, and those are super popular right now. And I love a curved sofa because it creates a little bit more flow in a space because it doesn't have those 90-degree angles on the corners. And you can kind of cheat your corners, your spaces a little bit. If it's a tight space, I always like to lean towards like a curved sofa. I have one in my bedroom and I love it. It's very feminine and it just feels great in the space because there's some other hard edges in the room, the bed, the bedside chest, the dresser, all that. So adding a little bit of differentiation in the shape of something makes a big difference. So you could always go for a curved sofa. Now, sectionals, we've got several different types of sectionals. So you've got a sectional that has a chaise on the end. And I love that type of a sectional because it's a great way to have kind of the best of both worlds. Like you've got the sofa, but then you have the chaise. It's really good for relaxing and kind of curling up to watch a movie. L-shaped sectionals, of course, are exactly what they say they are. And they're good for a large space. They usually take up a lot of space because if you think about it, You've got to have some expanse there when you're dealing with something that's an L. And then there's U-shaped sectionals, and you have to have even bigger room for a U-shaped sectional, because if you think about it, the back of the sectional has to be long enough that you could put a cocktail table in between the two like arms of the U. So it takes a big space to use a U-shaped sectional in. So that might not be maybe what you want if you have a giant house. I don't know. All right, so now let's think about seat heights. Generally, the seat height of a sofa, like a classic sofa, is somewhere 17, 18, maybe 19 inches to the crown of the cushion. The crown of the cushion is the tippy top of the seat cushion when you're looking at it level. Okay, so that generally, when you sit on a sofa, you're gonna sink down into it just like any other piece of upholstered furniture, but generally 17 to 19 inches for the crown. If you want to have a more, not formal, but a little bit more of a classic sofa look. If you're shorter, you might want a lower profile sofa where your seat cushion is 17, maybe even 16. Sometimes modern sofas go even lower than that. Like the seat height is like, 15 inches. I will say, if you got bad knees, you might not want a sofa where the seat cushion is that low because they're a little harder to get out of. But a lot of the like super modern streamlined looks that have a low profile back and they're real clean and, they have a lower seat. So that's something to think about. When you are shopping for a sofa, if you do not hear anything in this video besides this, listen to me now. Pay attention. There are so many sofas online, and I'm not saying not to go ahead and go shop for a sofa online. But you need to know what seat height and arm height and seat depth you prefer before you shop online. So it is so worth taking an afternoon, 30 minutes even, honestly, run to a furniture showroom local and sit on some sofas and see what feels good for you, because you might want to sit up and have a little bit more of a like traditional seating. So that means you want your seat height to be a little bit higher and you want your seat depth to be a little bit more narrow, because you don't want to like have to crawl back in your sofa. Or that might be exactly what you want. You want a seat depth of, 24, 26 inches, and you want to be able to curl back in your sofa. So go and sit on some sofas. And when you're there, don't just be prim and proper about it, unless that's how you always sit on your sofa at home. I suggest sitting on the sofas in the furniture showrooms exactly the way that you would at your house with your morning cup of coffee. If that's like curled up in the corner, do that. If you always sit with your, feet flat on the floor, do that. If you have your legs crossed generally when you're sitting on your sofa, do that. And see how it feels to actually live in the piece of furniture that you're buying. It's really important that not only do your furniture pieces look fabulous and, align with your aesthetic of your home, but especially your seating, you're sitting on those pieces of furniture, so they have got to be comfortable. Okay, next thing is to think about the frame and cushion construction. So the gold standard of a sofa frame is a kiln dried hardwood frame. So this is like oak or maple or poplar. Those frames are super, super durable, and they are literally going to last decades, okay? When it comes to the spring construction in a sofa, once again, the gold standard is 8-way hand-tied. I mean, that is a custom bench-made sofa. If you've got an 8-way hand-tied sofa, they're gonna be super comfortable and they're gonna last a literal lifetime. I mean, forever. Sinuous spring construction is still really, really good, and it's so much more affordable. So just ask questions when you go to the showroom and ask how those sofas are made and see what feels best and fits with your budget. When it comes to the cushions, I would say most of the time we'll do like a foam core and a down wrap. That is supportive, but it's a little plush, and it usually wears really, really well. You could do all foam. It's firmer. It's gonna hold its shape better over time. It's just maybe, not quite as plush and cozy. And then like all down, I mean, that generally never happens, but you could do an all down cushion. They're just going to be like, they're going to puddle, which means the fabric is going to kind of indent because, you know, of course, like with a down pillow, kind of squishes. So that's just something to think about when you're choosing your cushions. One of the things also that I like to always ask design clients and I think about for myself is how the cushions are configured. So my personal preference for my house is that I love a bench cushion on the seat, which means one singular cushion goes all the way across the seat. And I like that for various reasons. One, I think it just looks really, really sophisticated and clean and crisp. Two, I don't generally prefer having 2 seat cushions or 3 seat cushions because there's seams, and what ends up happening is you kind of get like stuck down in the valley of the cushions because there's a seam there. So if somebody sits in that spot, nobody's going to sit in that spot actually because their rear's going to get stuck in the seam. So I think that a bench cushion gives you more usable seat. When it comes to the back cushions, if you want a more tailored look, if it's a more formal space, I love a tight back like that's on this sofa right here. It's just gonna wear really, really well. There's no, dogs jumping up and sitting on the back of the cushion like my dogs do on their other sofa that have loose back cushions. It's just a crisp, clean look and it looks really good, but it's not as comfortable. So if you're choosing a sofa for an area in your home that you're like lounging on every single day and you're watching TV and you're reading a book and doing all the things, you're probably going to want loose back cushions. And those cushions, the construction of those cushions is really important because if they're not filled properly with the foam and all the things, they're gonna show a lot of wear and tear over the years because they're loose and they're hanging out back there and they're getting jostled and all that stuff. So very comfortable, but make sure that you're making the right choice on your cushion construction if you're gonna do loose back cushions, okay? Okay, now I wanna talk for a second about the back height and the arm height of the sofa because what we see a lot happen is there's so many of these low profile sofas on the market. They're cool, they're hip, all the things, nothing wrong with them at all. I love them actually. But a lot of times people want to have a console table behind their sofa. And generally we don't love like a whole bunch of consoles sticking up behind a sofa. That just usually looks out of proportion. So if you know that you want a console table behind your sofa, I say be mindful of that when you're choosing the back height of your sofa. Like right here, there's a console table behind here, but it's like probably 2 inches lower than the back height. You could have it even a little bit above. You're just not gonna want it sticking up like 8 inches above the back of your sofa. Generally, low profile sofas like 32 inch back height, taller ones, they could be up to 36 inches. There's lots of different, that's very kind of formal. You just need to think about how you want your space to lay out. That's gonna typically determine the back height and also the support that you want. Arm height, I'm not even gonna give you a range because this is totally personal preference and it also has a lot to do with the height of your body, your family's like heights. So when you go shopping for a sofa and you're sitting and you're doing all the things, sit on the end of the sofa and see if you like the arm height. Maybe you don't even care about arms and you're gonna do an armless sofa. But if you generally sit on the sofa and put your arm on the arm, like lay it on the arm, your arm on the arm, you need to make sure that it fits your body size. So that's just, there's different ranges, but I would say the most important thing is that it fits your body. When you are choosing furniture pieces that are going around your sofa, so that's a cocktail table in the front, side tables on the side, think about keeping the side tables generally like 2-ish inches within the arm height, okay? You don't want them way, way, way taller and way, way, way shorter than the arm. If they're like a normal side table, I'm not talking about a little like drink table, I'm talking about a normal side table that's got a lamp on it. And then cocktail table size, usually it's within 1 inch or so of the seat height of the sofa, okay? So, you don't wanna have like this really low profile modern sofa and the seat height be like 15 inches, 16 inches and then have cocktail table in front of it that's way, way, way taller. You're going to want to do something that keeps within that like low profile kind of modern look. So keep that in mind. I know it's a lot to keep in mind, but this is the big purchase is important. So you want to make sure that the sofa that you're choosing is comfortable, it fits your aesthetic, but it also fits the rest of the pieces of furniture in your house or what you're going to want to buy in the future. Okay, now let's talk about those design details that really kind of make a sofa fall into a specific style. So my rule of thumb when it comes to upholstery and grouping upholstery in a space is that I like to mix things up a little bit. I just think it has more energy than everything like having the same profile, the same heights, the same fabric. That's we don't want to go that route. So if the other pieces of upholstery in your room, like your side chairs, lounge chair, whatever it is, have a skirt or have an upholstered front that goes all the way to the floor, then I would generally say maybe you want a sofa with an exposed leg, and vice versa. If your side chairs that are right next to your sofa have exposed legs, then maybe you want to do a skirted sofa or a sofa that is upholstered, the front apron's upholstered all the way to the floor. I just think mixing it up makes it feel a lot more designer. It feels very intentional and changes kind of the feeling of the room because you just don't want everything to be fully upholstered all the way to the ground and feel heavy. Adding something with a leg lightens a space for sure. Now, when it comes to all those other little details like welting or tufting or nail heads, all that stuff, those really are kind of like this little jewelry of a sofa. And they do inform what style the sofa kind of falls into. So once again, if you go to a furniture showroom or even if you're like perusing Pinterest, really look at those details and think about like, would I like to have welts on all of the cushions or do I want it to be a little bit more streamlined and modern? Do I love a rolled arm? Do I love a tufted back? Those things, all of those little design details can be timeless if they're not all on the same sofa. So that would be my warning there is you might not want welts and tufts and rolled arms and a skirt and a nail head on the same sofa. Whoa, no. Like let's choose the thing that we think is the prettiest and let's use a couple of those details on the sofa that we're choosing. So now when it comes to fabric for your sofa, durability really matters, especially if you're going to use it every single day. So I'm going to give you a hint here. When you are shopping for a sofa, whether it's online or in a store, and you like the fabric that's on the sofa, or you're looking at fabric options if you're going to order a custom sofa, look at the rub count that's on the fabric. So the rub count is how many times a fabric can be rubbed back and forth before it starts to show wear and tear, okay? So for a normal sofa, kind of everyday use, but not like heavy traffic use, I'd say 15,000, 25,000 double rubs. For a really high traffic area, like a family room where you've got kids and pets and like all the things, 25,000 double rubs or higher would be really good. When it comes to fabrics, as far as textures and patterns, remember that woven fabrics hide dirt a lot better than like a really slick, solid fabric. Solid fabrics are classic and versatile, but they can show stains a little bit faster than a woven or a pattern fabric would. I love pattern fabrics. I would say a little fair warning on using a bold fabric on your sofa. It's a large expanse of fabric. So if it is a pattern that you know you are going to love for 5, 10 plus years, go for it. If you want to incorporate that fabric into the room and you're not exactly sure where to use it and you're not 100% sure if you're going to like it in a decade, put it on a side chair and do a solid or a texture or woven on your sofa. That's always a safer bet. I'm not saying don't do a pattern sofa because I think they're super cool. Just most of the time, our clients want to play it a little bit more safe with a sofa because it's a much more, it's a bigger purchase financially than a side chair is. So go fun on your side chair, go a little bit more classic and timeless on your sofa. Now, when it comes to fabric, choosing regardless if it's a solid or a pattern or whatever, I would say opt for performance fabrics if you know that you need easy cleaning and durability and it's a high traffic area. Performance fabrics generally won't stain. Like if you spill red wine on a performance fabric, usually it'll just roll right off. And that might be what you need. I'm not saying every single thing in your home needs to be performance fabrics, but if you know that this sofa is going to get a lot of use and you're going to be, sitting on there with your kids and they're going to spill their Jell-O on it, go for a performance fabric. Okay, I hope that all of these little design tidbits help you feel really good about choosing a sofa for your home. Remember, sofa, regardless of where it is in your home, it takes up a lot of real estate. It could be just a standard sofa or a giant sectional. Think about the floor space and the visual weight that a sofa holds in a room. So making a great choice, an informed choice, and understanding all of the things that we talked about in this video is going to help you when you are choosing a sofa for your home. Now, if you have some questions that are rolling around in your mind that are about interior design, about decorating your home, and you're just like, gosh, I really wish I had the answer to that. It would make me feel so much better about making this decision. I made something for you. We have put together a design answer guide, and we've taken the top 10 interior design questions that we get asked hundreds of times a week, if not maybe thousands of times a week, honestly. And I've compiled them all into one downloadable PDF with all the answers. So if that's something that you think could help you as you're designing and decorating your home, which I'm telling you, it really could, I want you to download it below. It's totally free. You can get it in the link below the video. If you want some more design know-how on how to choose some of the other furniture pieces in your space, how to decorate your home like a designer, I want you to meet me in this next video. I'll see you there.